Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. Your phone lights up and there it is, their name. You open the message and before you can take a breath, you see it. The words you've dreamed of hearing, the words that say, "I can't stop thinking about you." That moment, that reality is not a fantasy. It's not luck, it's not manipulation. It is the reflection of your assumption, the echo of your inner world mirrored back to you. Because, as Neville Goddard said, the world is yourself pushed out. Every desire, every person, every confession begins not out there, but right here, within you. When you desire someone's confession, you do not chase them. You awaken the confession already alive in the unseen. You stop pleading for it, stop wondering when they'll realize it. Instead, you walk in the knowing. It is done. In the silence of your own imagination, you let yourself hear them say, "I love you." You feel the warmth of that moment. You dwell in the end. That is the true rampage. Not shouting affirmations to the universe, but claiming your inner world so fiercely that the outer world has no choice but to follow. Now, when you think of your specific person, your SP, you must understand they are not separate from you. Every thought, every emotion, every doubt you hold vibrates through the invisible web connecting you both. If you focus on their silence, you get silence. But if you focus on their love, you get love. So, in this rampage, there is no contact needed because the connection is already complete. You are not waiting for them to speak. You are aligning with the version of reality where they already have. So today, I want you to remember that your imagination is not a daydream. It is creation. You are not trying to attract, you are selecting. You're moving from one state to another, from "they haven't confessed" to "they already have." And in this state, your energy changes. You no longer scroll through your phone waiting. You no longer check signs or wonder if they still think of you. You live as though it's already done. You move, speak and breathe as the one who is already loved, already chosen, already desired. And something magical happens. When you stop chasing, they start remembering. When you stop doubting, they start reaching. Your stillness becomes magnetic. They feel it, your confidence, your calm certainty, and they are drawn to it. The confession doesn't come because you demanded it. It comes because your energy made it safe for them to reveal what was already there. So, take this moment, this breath, and claim it. Say to yourself, "I am the one they love. I am the one they confess to. I am the one their heart cannot stay silent about." Feel it, live it. Don't seek, embody. The world will rearrange itself to reflect your assumption because creation is finished. Your only job is to occupy the state where their confession already exists. And soon enough, you won't need to imagine it. You'll be living it. There comes a moment in every person's life when longing becomes more than a passing emotion. It becomes an echo that will not quiet. You feel it in your chest when you wake, in your mind when the world is silent, in the pulse of your very being. It is not merely desire, it is a call from a reality that already exists, waiting for you to align with it. You see, the truth is not that you must chase love, convince someone of your worth, or wait for them to see what you already know. The truth is that creation begins and ends within you. The confession you seek from your specific person does not come from their lips first. It begins as a whisper in your imagination, and when you dare to believe it, the whisper becomes the world's voice. In this journey, your imagination is not idle fancy. It is the seed of every reality that has ever bloomed. Every great love story, every union, every confession began first in the unseen. Before a word is spoken, there is a thought. Before a message is sent, there is a feeling. Before the physical meeting of hearts, there is the alignment of unseen energy. When you close your eyes and imagine your person looking at you with that spark of truth in their eyes, when you feel their voice tremble as they say, "I can't hold it in anymore, I love you," that moment is more real than anything you have ever experienced in the external world. For the external world is only the shadow of your inner reality. Most people live backwards. They react to what they see. They see distance and feel lonely. They see silence and believe they are forgotten. But the wise one understands that everything seen is simply an echo of a past assumption. The distance you observe is not a punishment. It is the reflection of a belief you once entertained. So, if you wish to hear a confession, you must first become the version of yourself who is already loved. You must let go of the identity of the one who waits and step into the state of the one who has received. This is not about pretending or tricking yourself. It is about remembering you are the creator of your experience. The mind that imagines and the world that responds are not separate forces. When you believe yourself unloved, the universe echoes it through silence. When you believe yourself adored, the universe conspires to prove you right. The confession you seek is already alive in another dimension of reality, waiting for your consciousness to join it. And the bridge between what is unseen and what is seen is your belief. So begin with feeling. Let your heart rise with the warmth of already being chosen. Feel what it would be like to wake up knowing they have confessed, knowing they have finally said the words your soul has always known to be true. Don't just see it, feel it. The rush in your stomach, the softness in your breath, the certainty that love is no longer something to attain, but something that has become your natural state. The moment you feel it real, you have entered the creative act. You have declared, this is now. And once you have declared it, life bends to mirror your conviction. This is why no contact is necessary, because communication in the physical world is the final echo, not the source. The real communication happens in the silence between thoughts, in the invisible current of energy that flows between souls. When you think from love rather than of love, you alter the vibration of that connection. The person you desire begins to feel a gentle shift, a tug of remembrance, a sudden awareness of you. They may not understand why their heart stirs when your name crosses their mind, but you will. It is because you have spoken to them in the only language the universe truly understands, the language of feeling. And yet, this process is not merely about getting what you want. It is about learning who you are. The journey of manifesting a confession from another is, in truth, the journey of confessing your own power to yourself. It teaches you that you are never a victim of circumstances. You are the writer, the director, and the star of this play. If the scene before you displeases you, you need not fight the actors or rewrite the script through force. You need only imagine a new one and dwell in it until the stage transforms. So, as you stand in the theater of your mind, imagine the lights dimming, the crowd silent, the air thick with anticipation. Picture your person stepping forward, their eyes soft, their voice trembling with honesty. Hear them speak your name. Feel the truth behind their words. Do not doubt for a second that this is real, for what you imagine in faith is far more powerful than what you see in doubt. In this sacred act, you become the master of unseen laws. Each repetition of belief strengthens the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Each moment you choose faith over fear, you are rewriting destiny. And soon, without effort, the world begins to shift. You'll find yourself in moments of alignment. Perhaps a song plays that carries your message, or a memory flashes that reminds them of you, or circumstances unfold that bring you face to face. You will call it coincidence, but deep within you'll know it is confirmation. The universe has simply obeyed your assumption. So speak within yourself, not as one who begs, but as one who commands. Let your inner dialogue be filled with certainty. They love me. They confess their feelings to me. They can no longer hide what they feel. Let these words sink beyond thought and become the atmosphere of your soul. Walk through your days as though the confession has already been spoken, because in truth, it has. Only time stands between your inner world and its unfolding. Remember, the outer confession is the shadow of the inner conviction. When you no longer doubt, when you no longer question, when you no longer look to the world for proof, you have already received it. Your energy becomes unshakable, your presence magnetic. And in that state, the one you love cannot resist, but be drawn into the orbit of your certainty. Their confession becomes inevitable, because you have already written it upon the pages of reality with the ink of belief. This is the secret, not to force, not to chase, not to plead, but to become. Become the one who is loved, and the world will bow to that truth. For love, when felt as real, commands the universe to reveal itself through you. There is a hidden law working through every heartbeat, every thought, every desire you hold. The law of assumption, the art of becoming one with what you seek. To understand this, you must rise beyond the notion that the world around you operates by chance or coincidence. Nothing happens randomly. Every encounter, every word, every silence is a reflection of the unseen energy you sustain within yourself. The confession you long for already exists in the invisible realm, and it is summoned not through begging, not through effort, but through embodiment. When you become the one who is loved, the world must respond as though it were true. You do not have to make someone speak their truth. You have to feel the truth until it speaks through them. Think of your imagination as the womb of creation. Within it, all realities are conceived and nurtured. Whatever you hold in sustained awareness, whether fear, hope, or love, will take form. If you dwell on absence, you will experience distance. If you dwell on longing, you will experience waiting. But when you dwell on fulfillment, when you let yourself feel that you are already loved, already desired, already chosen, the outer world bends to that conviction. It cannot resist the pull of your inner certainty, for the unseen always governs the seen. The universe is not answering your words, it is responding to your state of being. This is why it is not enough to merely say affirmations without belief. Words without feeling are hollow, but feeling charged with conviction is creation itself. When you declare inwardly, "They love me," you must not simply repeat it, you must experience it. Let it fill your chest with warmth. Let your imagination show you the sparkle in their eyes, the softness in their voice, the safety of being known and cherished. That is not fantasy. It is the creative act in motion. What you accept as true within, regardless of appearances, becomes true without. And yet, this art is not about controlling another person. It is about understanding the unity of consciousness. The one you call your specific person is not a stranger to your soul. They are a reflection, a mirror showing you the quality of love you have allowed yourself to receive. When you seek their confession, what you are truly seeking is the acknowledgement of your own worth. You wish for them to see in you what you have hesitated to see in yourself. The moment you decide that you are worthy, that you are chosen, that you are loved beyond measure, you release them from the role of proving it. Then, effortlessly, they begin to act out the very script you have rewritten within. To live this truth, you must shift from wanting to knowing. Wanting keeps your desire always in the future. Knowing anchors it in the now. When you say, "I will be loved," you are unknowingly declaring that you are not loved yet. But when you say, "I am loved," and you feel it as done, the universe begins to rearrange every detail to match that assumption. It may come through a message, a chance meeting, or a dream that stirs their heart. But it will come, because the outer world has no choice but to reflect the inner certainty of one who has already received. The world does not contradict your faith, it confirms it. Every delay, every silence, every absence is not a denial, it is a test of conviction. Will you waver or will you persist? The moment you stop doubting, the moment you stop searching for signs, and instead rest in your knowing, the bridge of events begins to unfold. Your specific person may not even understand why they are suddenly compelled to reach out, to speak, to confess, but you will know. You planted that seed the moment you chose belief over fear. In this journey, patience is not waiting, it is trust. Trust that the unseen is working in your favor, that every second of your belief is reshaping reality. There is a sacred rhythm to manifestation. It blooms not by force, but by alignment. A flower does not open because it demands the sun. It opens because it knows the sun will rise. You too must learn to rest in that knowing. Let your confidence be quiet, unwavering, and alive. When you embody that energy, you radiate a calm magnetism that cannot be ignored. You become the still point that draws the confession forth, not through pursuit, but through power. The one you love feels you even when you are silent. Energy travels beyond words, beyond distance, beyond logic. When you are centered in love, they are pulled into that vibration. When you worry or beg, you send resistance into the space between you. But when you stand in the peace of being chosen, you transmit security. That is the energy they respond to. You become the safe place their heart recognizes as home. And when they finally confess, it will not feel like something new. It will feel like something inevitable. This practice demands discipline, for the mind is a restless servant. It will whisper doubts, show you evidence of the opposite, tempt you to check, to ask, to fear. But you must return again and again to the inner scene. You must persist in your assumption until it feels natural. When the thought, "they love me," no longer feels like a wish, but like a fact, you have entered the creative state. In that moment, you no longer need proof. And it is precisely then that proof arrives. To live in this awareness is to live as the author of your world. The confession you desire is not something to earn. It is something to embody. You are not incomplete waiting for their love. Their love is an echo of your own completeness. When you align with the truth that love is already yours, the outer confession becomes the final act of a play long finished within. That is the essence of this no-contact journey. It is not about silence in the physical sense. It is about silence of doubt. You withdraw from chasing, from pleading, from searching, and instead dwell in fulfillment. The world responds not to effort but to energy. The more you believe, the less you need to act. The more you trust, the faster the reflection changes. You are never waiting on them. You are waiting on your full acceptance of being loved. Once that happens, they will speak, they will reveal, they will confess. Not because you force them to, but because love can no longer remain unspoken in the presence of truth. When you embody that truth, you awaken the version of them who always loved you, who always wanted to say it, who was simply waiting for your belief to call them forth. There is a moment, quiet and almost invisible, when the world seems to pause, when you finally understand that the person you love is not separate from you. This realization does not come through logic or effort. It dawns softly, like the first light after night. You begin to see that what you feel for them, what you imagine of them, what you assume about them, is the very fabric shaping your shared reality. They are not a distant figure you must persuade or pursue. They are a reflection moving in rhythm with your consciousness. Every thought you hold about them, every emotion you nurture, every inner conversation you repeat becomes the script they unconsciously follow. The secret is not to control them, but to master your own inner dialogue. When you look upon your specific person, understand that what you perceive is filtered through the state you occupy. If you dwell in a state of lack, you see distance. If you live in the awareness of being loved, you see affection. The outer world does not argue with you, it obeys you. The silence you hear from them is not rejection. It is a mirror showing you where you have yet to believe. You may think they have pulled away, but in truth, it is your own doubt that has dimmed the reflection. The moment you assume a new state, one of confidence, love, and worthiness, their behavior begins to align with that assumption. This is why no contact is not an act of punishment or absence. It is the sacred space where belief matures. When you withdraw from chasing, you reclaim your power. You stop sending energy outward in desperation, and you begin to cultivate inner certainty. It is in that stillness that true creation happens. Every time you resist the urge to reach out for validation, you declare to the universe, "I no longer need proof, because I know." That knowing is the vibration of fulfillment, and fulfillment always attracts its likeness. Think of your mind as a tuning instrument. When you dwell on longing, you tune yourself to the frequency of waiting. When you dwell on being loved, you tune yourself to the frequency of receiving. The world, including your specific person, must respond to that frequency. There is no escape from the law of correspondence, as within so without. You can tell what you have been imagining by what you are experiencing. If they seem distant, it is not a signal to despair. It is an invitation to realign your assumption. You do not change them by pleading. You change them by changing your concept of them within you. To embody this truth, begin by transforming the conversations you hold in your mind. The inner dialogue is the root of every manifestation. If you are constantly imagining them as cold, indifferent, or uncertain, you are rehearsing that outcome into existence. Replace those inner scenes with new ones. See them speaking tenderly, hear them saying the words you long to hear. Feel the sincerity in their tone, the light in their eyes. Repeat this not as a hope but as a fact. You are not imagining a fantasy, you are remembering a reality that already exists in the unseen. The more vividly you live in that state, the sooner it crystallizes in form. Every time you choose love over fear, You are reprogramming the energy between you. You are writing new instructions into the field that connects you both. Do not underestimate the power of your quiet thoughts. A single moment of conviction felt deeply outweighs 100 actions born from doubt. The universe does not respond to effort, it responds to belief. This is why those who seem to let go often manifest quickly. They have stopped fighting with the evidence of the senses and have surrendered to the unseen truth of their desire. In the stillness of no contact, something miraculous unfolds. The energy that was once tangled in anxiety and chasing becomes clear, magnetic, and powerful. You begin to move differently, not with need, but with calm certainty. Your specific person begins to feel that shift. They may not understand it consciously, but they sense it. They start to remember you not through pain or pressure, but through love. They feel a pull toward you that has no explanation, because it is born not of effort but of essence. That is the quiet influence of alignment, the silent magnetism of one who knows. And so, you must learn to trust the unseen process. Every day that passes without contact is not a delay but a deepening. It is the universe rearranging events to fulfill your new state of being. You do not need to ask, when will they confess? The moment you embody the version of yourself who is already loved, the confession becomes inevitable. Time bends to the strength of your conviction. The more you rest in that knowing, the faster the bridge of events forms to carry you to its physical expression. This path is not about pretending or forcing positivity. It is about remembering your creative authority. When you catch yourself spiraling into doubt, pause and remind yourself, everything I experience begins in me. Then return to the feeling of love fulfilled. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let that feeling settle into your body as truth. When it feels natural, when it feels like home, you have entered the state that creates. From that point, nothing more is required of you but to persist in peace. You are not waiting for their confession. You are preparing yourself to receive it. You are clearing away the noise of resistance, the chatter of fear, the illusion of separation. You are refining your consciousness to match the reality you desire. When your mind and heart become one in conviction, the outer world must bow. Your specific person will act out the role you have assigned them through your belief. It may come as a text, a conversation, or an unexpected meeting, but it will come, and when it does, it will feel natural, as though it could never have been otherwise. This is the beauty of true manifestation. It feels effortless because it was never created through effort. It was simply remembered through belief. The confession you desire already exists in the eternal now. You are not summoning it, you are aligning with it. Every act of faith, every moment of trust, every breath of certainty brings it closer into form. And when it arrives, it will not feel like something gained, but something revealed. Something that was yours all along, waiting for you to believe enough to see it. There comes a sacred turning point in every journey of desire, when the heart stops asking how and begins to rest in knowing. The moment you let go of control, the moment you stop measuring time, and instead begin to feel your wish fulfilled, you step into the current of creation itself. To dwell in the end is not to wait for proof, but to embody proof. It is the art of standing in the unseen and saying, "It is done," even when your senses insist that it isn't. The one who masters this inner certainty becomes unstoppable, for the universe always bends to the strength of an assumed reality. To dwell in the end means to move through the world as if what you desire has already unfolded. It is not pretending. It is a higher form of truth. Every great creator, every visionary, every soul that has shaped their destiny has understood this principle. What you accept as true inwardly becomes visible outwardly. When you imagine your specific person confessing their feelings to you, when you feel the joy of that moment as if it were happening now, you are not fantasizing. You are planting the seed of an inevitable event. You are impressing upon the unseen mind of creation, and creation never forgets what is impressed upon it. The mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. When you allow yourself to feel the excitement of being loved, the calm assurance of being chosen, the warmth of hearing those words of confession, your subconscious accepts it as fact. And once accepted, it must express itself through your outer world. The bridge of events begins to form quietly, arranging people, timing, and circumstance to bring your inner vision into manifestation. This process is not about effort, it is about alignment. You align your emotions, thoughts, and self-image with the reality you wish to experience until there is no longer any gap between what you imagine and what you live. To master this art, you must first abandon the need to question when or how it will happen. The need for evidence is the language of doubt. The universe is not moved by impatience. It responds to faith. Every time you demand proof, you step back into the vibration of lack. Every time you rest in knowing, you strengthen the state of fulfillment. Think of it as tuning into a radio frequency. When you align yourself with the frequency of already being loved, you naturally attract experiences that match it. You cannot listen to a jazz station while tuned into static. Likewise, you cannot receive love while vibrating in longing. When you feel that your desire is already accomplished, you begin to act differently, speak differently, even walk differently. This is not forced confidence, it is natural consequence. The energy of fulfillment carries grace, ease, and magnetism. People sense it without you saying a word. Your specific person feels it too. They may not understand what changed, but they will feel pulled toward you, drawn by the quiet assurance that radiates from your being. It is the energy of someone who knows they are already loved, and such energy cannot be ignored. To live from the end requires courage, because the senses will always tempt you to doubt. The world may show you the opposite of what you desire. You may face silence, absence, or even rejection. But these are not signs of failure. They are shadows of old assumptions dissolving. When a new seed is planted, the ground must first be broken. The soil of your consciousness rearranges itself, making room for new growth. If you panic and dig up the seed, you interrupt its flowering. But if you persist in faith, even when nothing seems to move, the unseen forces continue their work beneath the surface. Persistence is not effort, it is loyalty to your inner truth. It is saying to yourself, I choose to remain in the feeling of being loved, no matter what appears outside. Every time you return to that feeling, you strengthen the reality of it. The unseen begins to take shape, and soon the evidence appears in the most natural ways. A message, a chance encounter, a shift in tone, tiny signs that confirm your assumption is solidifying into fact. But you no longer wait for them as validation. You recognize them as the unfolding of what you have already claimed. When you master the state of dwelling in the end, your relationship with time changes. You stop counting days and start living from eternity. You realize that what you desire exists now, not in some distant future. Time only separates you from your wish when you believe in separation. But when you feel your desire as already realized, time collapses. It becomes merely the stage upon which your inner movie plays out. The confession you seek from your specific person is already written in the script of your consciousness. All you are doing is walking through the scenes until you reach that moment of revelation. This path demands emotional discipline, for the mind will often wander back to worry. It will whisper, what if it never happens? Or, what if I'm wrong? In those moments, do not fight your thoughts, redirect them. Gently remind yourself that creation is complete, that the end is certain, and that every doubt is simply an old echo losing its power. Replace fear with gratitude, for gratitude is the vibration of fulfillment. When you feel thankful for something that has not yet appeared, you declare to the universe that it is already yours. Gratitude collapses the gap between desire and manifestation faster than any action could. As you persist in this state, your outer world will begin to mirror your inner conviction. People will respond differently. Synchronicities will multiply. Your specific person will find themselves thinking of you more often, remembering your presence, feeling emotions they cannot explain. And when the confession finally comes, it will not feel like a surprise. It will feel inevitable, as if the universe had been leading you both to this point all along. That is because it was never about waiting for it to happen. It was about aligning with the version of yourself who had already received it. To dwell in the end is to live as a conscious creator. It is to rise above appearances and claim your dominion over experience. You do not hope, you know. You do not beg, you allow. You do not chase, You are tracked by the sheer certainty of your inner state. The world, being nothing more than the mirror of your belief, cannot help but reflect it back to you. When you live this way, life stops being a struggle and becomes a dance between imagination and reality, a harmonious reflection of your inner faith. And once you taste the power of that alignment, you will never again doubt that the unseen is far more real than the seen, and that your assumption of being loved has always been the most creative act of all. The most extraordinary transformation happens not when you finally receive what you desire, but when you realize you no longer need to chase it. There is a quiet strength that arises the moment you release the desperate search for proof, the moment you stop waiting and instead begin to live from the truth that it is already yours. In that stillness, your energy changes. The frantic motion of wanting gives way to the steady rhythm of knowing, and that rhythm is magnetic. It draws to you the people, circumstances, and moments that match its vibration. Love cannot resist a heart that knows it is loved. It moves toward it like a river returning to its source. Your specific person feels this shift long before words are ever spoken. Though you may not be in contact, energy is the silent messenger between souls. When your heart is restless, they feel the pull of tension. When your heart is serene, they feel the invitation of peace. Without a single conversation, your state communicates everything. That is why the work is always within. The confession you seek does not come from trying to get their attention. It comes from embodying the version of yourself who already has it. To reach this place, you must learn the difference between acting confident and being confident. Acting is a performance, being is truth. You cannot fake the energy of fulfillment. It must be lived. And you live it by returning, again and again, to the feeling of already being chosen. You rise each morning not asking, when will they confess? But declaring, I am already loved, and that love is unfolding in perfect time. This quiet conviction radiates through every gesture, every word, every glance. The world begins to respond as though it were true, because it is. When you stop chasing, something sacred happens. You create space. Space for alignment, space for divine timing, space for your specific person to awaken to their own feelings without interference. So many delay their manifestation because they smother it with effort. They stare at their phone, counting hours and analyzing silences, unaware that this constant checking is a declaration of unbelief. You cannot both believe it is done and keep looking for proof. Belief rests, belief breathes. Belief trusts that the seed once planted must grow. There is power in stillness. Stillness is not absence of movement, it is mastery of focus. When you center yourself in calm assurance, the world feels your stability. You no longer send mixed signals of desire and fear. Instead, you emit a single, clear message. I am secure in love. This is the vibration that moves mountains. It is not forceful, yet it is irresistible. Your specific person senses it, even without contact. They begin to remember your presence differently, not through longing or confusion, but through clarity and warmth. They are drawn not to your need, but to your wholeness. Many misunderstand what letting go truly means. Letting go is not giving up your desire, it is surrendering your fear. It is releasing the need to control the outcome while holding firm to the feeling of fulfillment. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you open your palm and simply hold it gently, it remains. The same is true for love. When you grip it with anxiety, it flees. When you trust it with calmness, it stays. This is the essence of faith in motion. You move through your days with a quiet smile, not because you are pretending to be strong, but because you have glimpsed a deeper truth. You know that what you desire already exists in another dimension of reality, waiting for your full alignment to bring it into form. And so, you no longer plead for it, you prepare for it. You act as though it is already part of your life, because in the unseen it is. You speak with kindness, carry yourself with grace, and love yourself as the one who is already loved. As this inner transformation unfolds, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to mirror your new state. Conversations shift, synchronicities multiply, unexpected messages appear. Your specific person may suddenly remember you, dream about you, or feel an urge to reach out. None of this happens by chance. It is the reflection of your calm certainty. When you stop chasing, you become the one who is chased, because your energy declares that love is already secure within you. To maintain this state, practice gratitude, not as a ritual, but as a way of being. Gratitude affirms that you already have what you once sought. Each time you give thanks for their love, for their confession, for their presence, even before it is visible, you are aligning with the version of yourself who already lives in that reality. Gratitude is a bridge between the invisible and the visible. It transforms desire into possession. When you say, "Thank you that they love me," you are not hoping, you are claiming. This is not blind optimism. It is spiritual precision. The world responds faithfully to the frequency you hold. When your heart is at peace, life mirrors peace. When your heart is frantic, life mirrors chaos. So choose the inner state deliberately. Each time fear arises, pause and return to your center. Remind yourself that the outer silence means nothing. It cannot cancel what is already true within. Love does not vanish because you cannot see it. It is ever present, waiting for recognition. Over time, you will notice something profound. You no longer crave their confession to feel complete. You no longer wait for their words to validate your worth. You realize that love has been flowing toward you all along, disguised as silence, as delay, as lessons in faith. And when you reach that point of emotional independence, the confession arrives naturally. They speak not because you demanded it, but because your energy made it inevitable. The world always yields to the one who is unmoved by appearances. You become a living example of divine alignment, still, calm, radiant, and sure. You understand that the outer world is nothing but a mirror of the inner one, and that by resting in love, you command love without speaking a word. Your stillness becomes a magnet, your certainty a beacon. Without a single message or gesture, you draw forth the confession you once longed for, not by asking, but by becoming the version of yourself who never needed to. And in that realization, you find the ultimate freedom, the awareness that everything you've ever sought was simply waiting for you to believe it was already yours. You said, expand 6 section detailed in Neville Goddard style dio naut ad subirides. Kon use ioe and mentor him, use be of 800 wardi and specie each musti bi in motivational and educational way. Don't use the same starting as other keynote expansion. ChatGPT said, there is a moment when you no longer try to make things happen, but instead allow them to unfold through you. You stop wrestling with the evidence of the senses and begin to trust the quiet intelligence that governs all creation. The journey is no longer about getting love, but about becoming love itself. When you reach this realization, everything that once felt like effort begins to move effortlessly. You no longer measure progress by messages, reactions, or outcomes. You measure it by the peace that fills your heart. And in that peace, the world rearranges itself with precision, bringing to life what you have long carried within your imagination. You begin to see that love is not something that must be earned or persuaded into existence. It is a natural state that flows when you stop blocking it with fear, doubt, and impatience. When you release the belief that someone else holds the key to your happiness, you step into the fullness of your creative power. The confession you once waited for ceases to be a goal. It becomes a natural reflection of your own inner transformation. You no longer stand as the seeker of affection, but as the embodiment of it. The world simply echoes the song you have learned to hum in your soul. Every thought you hold is a command to the universe. Every feeling you sustain is a blueprint of what must come. When your inner dialogue shifts from longing to certainty, from lack to completion, your reality must follow. You begin to understand that nothing was ever missing. Only your awareness of abundance was dimmed. Once you remember who you are, life itself conspires to confirm it. Your specific person, your relationships, your circumstances, they all align to mirror the state you have chosen. In this awareness, you walk differently. Your presence carries the quiet assurance of someone who knows they are already chosen. You speak with kindness, not need. You look at life not as a battlefield, but as a mirror reflecting your inner conviction. When you catch yourself wondering when love will come, you remind yourself that love is already here, alive in every breath, every heartbeat, every unseen movement, drawing you closer to what you desire. You become the cause, and the world becomes your obedient effect. To live this way requires the discipline of imagination. You must train your mind to see what your eyes cannot. When doubt whispers, "It's not working," you must respond with vision, "It is already done." You must practice the feeling of being loved until it feels more real than the outer silence. This is the sacred act of creation, the ability to hold a state regardless of appearances. When the mind wavers, the world wavers. But when the mind stands still in knowing, creation rushes to obey. This is not about denial or delusion, it is about mastery. Mastery over emotion, over attention, over reaction. The world does not change through force, but through faith. Every time you choose to feel love instead of lack, you elevate your vibration. Every time you refuse to be moved by temporary appearances, you strengthen your dominion over them. You are the awareness that gives life to all you perceive, and the moment you recognize that, your world bends in reverence to your realization. In this state, you become deeply magnetic, not because you seek to attract, but because you have ceased to repel. Fear repels, peace attracts. Desperation pushes away, confidence draws near. When you rest in the knowing that all is unfolding perfectly, you emit the frequency of trust. That frequency is irresistible. It communicates far beyond words, reaching the hearts of others, including your specific person, and softly awakening them to their own love for you. They are drawn not to your effort, but to your energy. You begin to realize that waiting is an illusion. There is no waiting in creation, only unfolding. Just as the seed contains the tree within it, your desire contains its fulfillment. The confession, the union, the love, all of it already exists within the unseen realm, fully formed, waiting for your awareness to make it visible. The only task is to persist in the knowing until it feels natural. Once it feels natural, it must become physical. The universe has no choice but to reflect the consciousness that sustains it. And so, you live your days differently. You no longer wake up wondering what will happen. You rise with gratitude for what has already happened in the unseen. You no longer look outward for validation. You turn inward for confirmation. You no longer measure time by the clock, but by the depth of your belief. Each moment becomes an opportunity to practice being the one who already has, rather than the one who hopes to have. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. As your belief deepens, life begins to surprise you. Doors open that once seemed closed. People treat you differently. Situations that felt stagnant suddenly move. It is not that the world has changed. It is that you have shifted to a version of reality that matches your new assumption. This is the miracle of awareness. By changing your inner state, you step into a parallel version of existence where your desire is already fulfilled. And once you are there, everything feels effortless, inevitable, and natural. You come to understand that love was never lost. It was simply waiting for recognition. The confession you sought is not a distant event. It is the echo of your own inner knowing returning to you through another's voice. When it arrives, it feels less like surprise and more like remembrance. You realize that you were never manifesting someone else's love. You were awakening to your own. The outer expression was merely the mirror of your internal truth. This awareness frees you. You are no longer a prisoner of waiting, no longer a beggar of affection, no longer a seeker of signs. You walk through life as one who knows that everything desired is already yours in consciousness. You treat your imagination as sacred ground. For whatever you plant there must bear fruit. You tend to your thoughts as carefully as a gardener tends to seeds, knowing that each one will bloom in its appointed time. And when doubt arises, you smile gently, for you understand that faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to believe despite it. In this way, you become a living embodiment of love fulfilled. Your stillness becomes your strength, your faith your foundation, and your certainty your magnetism. The confession comes, the love unfolds, the reality aligns. But by then, you are no longer surprised. You knew it all along. You simply allowed it to come forth by standing unwavering in the truth that love is not something to earn, but something you already are. And so, the journey ends where it truly began, within you. What began as a longing for another's confession transforms into the revelation that you were always the author of that moment. The power you sought in their words was never theirs to give. It lived quietly in your own assumption, waiting for you to claim it. You realized that creation was never about convincing the outer world. It was about remembering your inner dominion. The love, the confession, the union, all of it blooms naturally from the garden of your belief. When you embody the state of being loved, the universe becomes your echo. The silence that once felt heavy now hums with assurance. You no longer need signs, because your life itself becomes the sign. You see how every delay, every distance, every unanswered question was simply guiding you back to the truth, that your imagination is the seed of every experience, and your faith is the soil that brings it to life. You are no longer the seeker of love. You are the giver of it, the embodiment of it, the channel through which it flows freely and endlessly. In this understanding, you discover peace. Not the peace that comes from getting what you want, but the peace that comes from knowing you already have it. You move through life not with haste, but with grace. Not with fear, but with quiet power. Every heartbeat whispers, "It is done." Every step confirms that the world bends to your inner certainty. So as you stand in the fullness of who you are, remember this: you were never waiting for their confession, you were waiting for your own awakening. And now that you have found it, love is no longer something to attain. It is something you effortlessly radiate. The world, obedient to your inner truth, will mirror it back in ways more beautiful than you ever imagined. You do not chase, you attract. You do not plead, you command. You do not wait, you become. And once you become, the universe can do nothing but confess, through every person, every moment, every unfolding, that you were loved all along.